Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today, we're going to be talking to Kevin Petterson, who is the founder of a company called Zipstall. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thanks very much for having me.
So now Zipstall is a really interesting story. You've given me a little bit of the background, and so I'm excited to share this with the audience. But you didn't just start there, but why don't we start at Zipstall, have you explain a little bit about what that service, that product is, and then we'll talk a little bit about the backstory as how you got there.
Sure. So essentially, Zipstall is creating a marketplace for parking. So the problem today that people have is it's very challenging to find parking downtown. Paying for parking itself is not the big problem, but it's the only solution that the rest of the market has come up with. So what I mean by that is everybody else essentially gives you an app that's a parking meter in your pocket to help you pay for parking. But the actual problem comes from not knowing where you're going, not having transparency on rates, not knowing where parking is available. So Zipstall creates a marketplace where you can find all these parking options in one single place. So that's like the first piece.
Yeah. And so people, they log into the app and if I want to go downtown Edmonton, and say I'm going to go down to the arena. So I'll put in that address and then it'll just pop up all of the different parking options that would be in that area then. Is that correct?
Yeah, essentially that's like high level, but we do a couple of the details differently. So one of the key things for us is the first entry is the business or the venue, or you can enter an address if you want to, because it's a Google-based search, but essentially what we do is we focus on the partner businesses. So when you're going out to a restaurant, like you put in the name of that restaurant, you don't need to know the business's address. It's not part of the customer's mental flow. It's like our system is intuitive. It locks right into the business. Next, then we get the standard inputs of how long you think you're going to be there and what time you think you're going to be there. So we can help calculate the rates for you. So we can score them. And I'll get back to that piece. And then the thing that we do that's totally innovative is we give you this little slider, and the slider lets you pick between closer or cheaper. Because if you think about it, for every parking adventure, one of those two things is your priority. If it's cold outside or you're late for a meeting, you want to be closer. If you got some time on your hands, you want to save money, then you want cheaper. So by using the slider, it lets us get into the customer's head for their priority. And then we actually score all the options for them. So instead of making them go to a map, like what you were describing, and having them go like shopping around for parking on the map, we give them what we call the zip pick, where it's like, boom, silver platter, score all the options. This is the best one for you. So we give you the option to see the map as well.
Yeah.
So that if you don't trust us yet, you want to like check yourself and go shopping around, you can still do it. And we put all the options on there. We just prioritize them. So there's like you'll see it in there, but it's like there's the pink zip pick, then there's the purple ones with the prices on them, and then there's like everything else. And then that we're developing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's a really interesting way that you guys have approached that, because the historical way that I've seen in these apps is just totally by the map, and you're zooming around trying to find where the best deal is, or like you said, the closest one, or whatever the case is. And so I love the short circuiting of that process, or sidestepping it and just jumping right to, here's the best one for you, Lance. Do you want to take it or not? Right.
Absolutely. And like, if you think about it, the travel industry has been doing that for a long time, right? So when you go to any of the, the big travel sites, it's like, you tell it what your priorities are, and then it scores them for you, ranks them, and then you essentially pick from those. The other beautiful thing from our standpoint is that from a distracted driving standpoint, it's very important that people not be interacting with a map.
Yep.
So our whole process is map free. So, and we're not there yet with the voice command piece integration, but if you think about our flow, you can essentially say, I want to go to Dorinku, Osaka at 7:00 for 2 hours. I want closer, give me the zip pick. And each of those inputs, I just delivered verbally. So our platform has the capability going forward to actually like collect all of those by voice. So you don't have to look at a map. There's no customer interaction with a mobile device required to get them to the best stall. That's the objective.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Well done. Okay. So now a question for you then with regard to the stalls. So like is there a limited number of parking companies, parking stalls out there that are part of this app, or do you guys have like everybody in there? How does that work?
That's a great question. And this is sort of like, it's an evolution for us. So because all the information on parking is publicly available, all of the options essentially are in our platform.
Okay.
So we'll tell you where they are, what the rates are, like that's part of our role. Like we do all the data collection on that and we present that through the tool. So we give you essentially like a free utility tool to navigate between those, and we score them all with the zip pick. The key piece that everybody else does, like I said, they give you the parking meter in your pocket trick. It's like, well, we're getting to that as well, but that's the part that requires like specific integrations. So there's API integrations to get essentially your license plate put on what I call the good list. So when you're parking, if you think about it, what you're buying is the right to not get a ticket. So how do they enforce their tickets? It's like, well, they have this list where everybody who's okay to park, they're on the good list. So the API integrations for that is the part that takes a little bit more time. We're working, like we've submitted a proposal to the city of Edmonton. We've got a relationship already set up with Precise Park Link West. So they're going to be live here very shortly. I've got signage and everything coming with those guys.
Cool.
Diamond Parking is in the queue. We're working towards an agreement with Impark as well here, hopefully in the near future. So our goal is to be able to help people pay across the board. But for now, we give this, again, free utility tool to help them find the best parking.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so in that sense, then every parking stall available in downtown Edmonton is going to be part of this app, right?
Yep. And if we miss one, we want people to help let us know, but we've done a very thorough job, I think, of, collecting all the data from all the different groups and everything that's out there. So we believe we have the most robust collection of data on parking in downtown Edmonton. And obviously, like our focus is to start on downtown Edmonton, and then to grow from there. So we've already started doing some work mapping out White Avenue and 124th Street. But for right now, the strategy is we want to build our ecosystem, set up the partner businesses that we'll get into a little bit more, like build our whole network in the community in downtown as the primary to sort of like prove the model.
Okay. And so part of what I've seen on the website, is a crowdsourcing almost to identify some of those parking stalls that might be available as well. Can you walk us through that and how you arrived at that as a piece of the overall puzzle?
Yeah, 100%. So essentially, if you think about it, parking, like if I send you the best, if we give you the zip pick, we score them all, whatever, but you get there and it's not available, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like it's a great trick, but if the parking's not actually there, it doesn't mean anything. So the critical piece behind our platform is actually working to provide real-time and predicted availability layered into the entire platform. So again, customer service delivery wise, like that's like a whole nother level. Like now you like actually know where you're going to get the stall that you want, which one is the cheapest one or the closest one, depending on your priority. So that piece is huge. But the problem is that it's very expensive to install a sensor in every stall because you need data, you need power. It's like it's impossible, right? There's private parking, there's public municipal parking. It's like there's no way to achieve that. So our whole strategy is based around essentially three key pillars to collect that information. One that you touched on is the crowdsourcing piece. So essentially, when you park, you tell us where you parked. Eventually, that's how you're going to actually start and pay for your session. You tell us where you parked. You tell us what the availability is with a simple click. So it's either I got the last stall, there's a few stalls available, or there's lots of stalls available. And in exchange for that little piece of information, we give you this fun little wheel. So you press the button, spins around, lands at, hey, $4. It's like, you just got paid to park, which is the slogan for Zipstall. And then, as you were alluding to before in other conversations, like then you can use those dollars to go spend at our partners. So, like I said, Drink Osaka is one of our partners. We've got El Beso, you get $2 off chorizo sliders, the massage shop, Shoe Shine Shack. There's like all these great partners in downtown Edmonton that are in the same geographic area of where you've just parked. So now you have an incentive to go support them as well.
So you get these rewards immediately then, or is it something where, it takes a while to kind of collect the rewards before you can go and use them?
No, you like every time you park, you spin the wheel, depending, and there's like a whole algorithm behind about like, how it produces the results. But
Yep.
essentially consider it like a random spin. Sometimes you get good karma instead of local dollars. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like I said, let's say you get $4. It's like, well, you can use that essentially immediately. And that's our intention, right? It's like, we want you to start your downtown adventure. You start by parking, boom, we hit you with this great incentive. You're like, okay, like I was going to go to my lawyer's office and then go back to the suburbs, but I just got $4. So I'm going to go get that chicken sandwich,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go get that coffee. I'm going to go do that extra spend, because what we're trying to get people to do is like enjoy the downtown ecosystem and sort of bring to the forefront all of these great businesses that are right there, ready, willing, and able to serve them.
And the thing that I love about this list that's on your website of the businesses that are part of this program is they're all local businesses here to Edmonton, right? And so this is a means of keeping, our spend, our dollars in the economy, just circulating amongst a bunch of local businesses. So here you are, a local company, providing access to local parking spots, that is then supporting local businesses, and the local businesses are rewarding those customers for being in that area, which is going to drive some traffic in. I mean, it's just a fantastic idea in terms of how to keep that multiplier effect of every dollar that enters into the downtown area to stay in our local economy. So I really love that piece of it. Was that something that was intentional and something that you had at the very beginning, or is that this something that came about later on?
To be totally honest, when I first, started planning out the concept, it was like, well, like, let's do some sort of a coupon.
Okay.
But then it sort of evolved into like, well, if we're going to try and do this like across the board, and again, our platform has all sorts of unique capabilities because we're essentially hitting like the right people at the right time. But as far as like our initial strategy for like integration and partnering with these groups, it was essentially like taking a page out of the, usually it's like smaller communities that do like, downtown dollars. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
City of Edmonton used to have one that was applied to
Yeah.
parking, which is a funny story because it's like the inverse of what we do. But essentially, like you take like the city of Fort Saskatchewan, they have like a downtown dollars program. So essentially, they give you like a little wood token or a little piece of paper with a stamp or whatever, and like these exist all across like North America. But it's a way to like incentivize people to spend at these area businesses. So we thought it was like a perfect delivery for us to do something similar, where again, like, we're getting in the hands of those people, but relative to some of the other programs is like, you have to go and like convert regular dollars into these downtown dollars, or you have to like go and get them somehow. Where in our platform, it's like the dollars come to you, which again, from a customer standpoint, it's like, it's way more convenient. It's like you park, it shows up in the app, boom, it's right there. It's like we give you the list of where you can spend it and all these great local businesses that we partner with. So, it's a very clean delivery, and it makes it that much easier. So you don't have to think about it, it comes to them.
Yeah. Well, and this is, I love how you described it as being a very clean experience, because this is really what you've been doing, is creating a very unique user experience that has the user at the center of everything. And so obviously you guys have spent a lot of time thinking through, how do we make this easier? How do we make it simplified? Whether that's from selecting, like with that slider, do you want to have closest, or do you want to have cheapest, and thinking through the voice activation, thinking through some of the ways that you're activating then the benefits with these dollars. So very, very user focused, and that probably, I mean, that's a nice place to segue into my next question, I think, which is around the impetus for this. I mean, I'm guessing you saw a need, and there was probably a user experience that you didn't like, and so you decided, let's screw this, I'm going to build my own.
Yeah, that's pretty much a good way to summarize it.
Yeah.
So my background is I'm from the commercial real estate space. So I've been in the commercial real estate industry for 15 years. About 7.5 years ago, I started my own company called Stature Properties, and we've been investing in and redeveloping properties since that day. And one of our primary focuses has always been on parking. And the reason for that is, once upon a time when I did office leasing, I'd show up for a tour with tenants. And the first question that they would ask me wasn't about like, who's the landlord here, or, what are rates at this one versus the last one. It's like the first question like, and a significant number of tours is like, how many parking stalls do we get? And
Yeah.
that's always sort of resonated with me, like how important parking was in like the overall ecosystem. And then fast forward, starting to invest in parking, it became like so blatantly obvious to me that like the space is broken because customers are frustrated. Businesses tell us all the time, and like you don't have to talk to very many. It's like, customers complain to them constantly about parking. They don't come and see them because of the parking. It's like it doesn't need to be like that. And from an ownership standpoint, because I'm sort of unique in that I wear the parking owner's hat as well, where a lot of these other platforms, like they're more focused on like the management side, where like I get what it's like to be a parking owner. I know what my priorities are. So, in wearing that hat, what I found was like, there was no way for me to communicate to my potential customers. It's like, what business can't reach their customers? It's like, well, a business is going to fail. It's like, so for me, it was, I need to get more customers. How do I do that? Well, you go to your parking management company, and the best tricks they have are to post something within their own ecosystem. So what I mean by that is, they've got their own app, they've got their own website, but who looks at their app and their website? It's, well, the people that are already on it are using it. Park at one of their existing sites. Who's not on it? The guy who parks across the street that you're trying to attract over. So it's like, there's no connect, because again, there's no marketplace. So in that regard, the best trick that they have is putting a sandwich board on the city sidewalk. It's like, this is 2021. It's like, there has to be a better way than putting a sandwich board in order to market, what your different parking programs. So that's where it like became very obvious to me. It's like, the marketplace is the solution. If we put all the options in one spot, like you said, we focus on the customer. Because and again, it's not like anybody's particular fault, but if you think about the evolution of parking, essentially we went from free parking everywhere to a little meter that sits on a stand that's a mechanical device. You put a coin into it, you turn the crank, and you buy time, right? Then they took that and they made that available with a credit card. Then they took that and they put that in your pocket with your mobile device. Essentially, when you're buying time through a parking meter, what you're doing is also putting a clock on your own shoulder and that says, hey, like, your downtown experience only has 45 minutes left. Like, you need to get to your car and you need to leave downtown. And to me, this is not conducive to a positive downtown experience. Nobody wants to have a clock on them. Nobody wants to have this like deadline. It's like, if you ask me how to kick everybody out of downtown, the first thing I do is I put a time limit on everybody. So it's like, why are we doing that to people through the parking? Because that's effectively what you're doing. Because when they go back to their car, chances are they're going to leave. And if we want people to stay and we want them to spend and we want them to have a great time, it's like, we don't want them focused on this deadline that's looming over them. We want them focused on, seeing their friends, hanging out, like, coming and going as they wish. So I give the city of Edmonton credit because they do a session start and stop flow.
Yep.
But one of the things that they also do is 2-hour maxes, 5-hour maxes. It's like, these limitations again create the same sort of problem. So our philosophy with Zipstall is do a session start and stop on private options that we partner with as well, so that you can essentially come and go whenever you want. And you don't have to worry about extending your time, because it's one of the biggest things that people complain about. It's like, oh, I didn't hear the app tell me that my time was coming up, or I forgot the time. And then you play this game of cat and mouse with the enforcement. And are you going to get a ticket? Are you going to pay the ticket if you get the ticket? It's like, it turns into this whole game that's like entirely unnecessary. So we do the session start and stop. From a data perspective and an availability tracking perspective, also, it's a lot more accurate now, right? Because we have essentially a ping from when you start and when you stop. So if you think about it in that regard, it's like, now we have really good data. So we know when somebody's coming and going. If somebody buys 3 hours worth of parking, but they leave after 45 minutes, it's like, well, you have no idea. Like, that parking manager thinks that there's still an occupied stall, but they could be, selling it to somebody else and bring somebody else in, which again, like, brings us back to the whole using the data to make the customer experience piece better.
Yeah. So the one thing that I want to pick up on, well, there's actually two things there. So One thing is a start and stop. I don't know what you guys have in there in terms of features, but I would love it if you guys could have a little pop up into my phone when I start driving away from the spot. So GPS enabled or something so you can see that, because I can't tell you how many times I have driven away with the city of Edmonton one and forgot to turn it off, right? And so it's like, oh man.
You are not alone, my friend. And as a parking person, like again, I think about parking all the time and building this app, and I go park in the city's parking and I do the exact same thing. And it
Yeah.
makes me crazy. And it's like, well, like why is it like that? So I love that you touched on this. This is actually like a key part of our business plan as well. And it's a neat little story also, where when I was doing research for all the different features that I wanted to do, I had this concept for like using Bluetooth to automatically stop the session. Because you think about it, like when you get in your car knows your phone. They have like identities. Your like Spotify or when you get a music casting service is like, it knows when to play. It's like there's already like an interaction. So your phone and your car already know.
Yep.
There's a question of how do you use that to enhance the parking experience? Did a bunch of research, went online, was trying to find if there was anybody in the world who'd done this. And lo and behold, I find a group out of Estonia.
Okay.
So I pick up the phone, gentleman answers. He says, hello, this is Christian. It's like, hi, Christian, my name's Kevin. I'm from Canada. I'm building a parking app. I think you guys got something neat. Fast forward, we want to do a license deal with them. Fast forward again, we actually now have them as our like third-party development team, and they're actually in Edmonton right now. So they've come for like a month. So we've been spending time together and like working, and like it's been a really neat experience where you have these, great guys who had a great trick in doing this one feature that now we're like incorporating into Zipstall. And we've essentially like, brought our strengths together. So it was a great move for Zipstall because we took a quantum leap ahead, because they had been building their app for 6 years. So their back office is robust. They're like the calculations piece, like they've been processing, millions of euros in transactions. It's like, there's all the strength. So for me, and this is again, like, from a lesson standpoint, it would have taken me, a lot of money and a significant amount of time to replicate what they'd already done. So by sort of taking a step back and looking at potential strategic partnerships, it opened up like this great opportunity for both them and for us, because collectively, I think we're like far stronger.
Yeah, I love this approach that you have on it seems like everything. It's a very collaborative way that you approach the business and the structure of your business and the services and everything else. And so right down to the development. And I think you're bang on. I think there's a huge lesson there for other entrepreneurs, because there's so many of us, we get tunnel visioned into, well, this is what we need to create, and we're going to create it ourselves because we want the proprietary nature of it or whatever, right? We feel that there's some value in that, but we don't see the value in the leapfrogging ahead, months and months of development time and the costs that are associated with that. So now you have a product that you can get to market a lot quicker with the feature set that you want to have. Sure, you're going to be paying some licensing fees or whatever the case might be, but it's at the end of the day, it's first to market movers in the tech world in particular, right? And so you guys need to be going rapidly. This is going to get you there quicker.
Totally. And in our particular case is like, like there's a different structure that you can set up with different groups and whatnot. But yeah, like getting to a point where your interests are aligned and there's the synergy of like, 1 + 1 is 3 that happens. It's like, that's the part you're trying to get to. Because I always come back to like, is there a prize for, walking every step of the path yourself? It's like left foot, right foot, left foot. It's like, well, how long is it going to take you to get there? And to your point, it's like, yeah, like the faster you can get there, the better. So if you can do those leapfrog events by, partnering with the right group, obviously trust comes into play.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, strategy, there's I'm sure a real art to putting together successful relationships like that. I consider myself very fortunate to have found a group that was, very similarly aligned, very similarly like, focused on growth and helping the customers. And yeah, I got lucky and found some great guys.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. Now, speaking of other lessons, so what else have you learned along this journey then from what, and actually let's put some perspective on this. So what is the timeline here? What are we talking about? Is this, 10 years in the making? Is this something that happened at the beginning of COVID? What?
Yeah, that you hit it with the second one. This started all with COVID. So essentially, as I was explaining, my background, commercial real estate, we were looking down the barrel of some very interesting changes, we'll say, to
Yeah.
the parking world when COVID struck.
The
Essentially,
exodus
everybody
of
in the office
downtown
building,
Edmonton, right? Yeah.
bingo, office
Yeah.
buildings getting kicked out, restaurants getting closed. Is like those are like essentially kryptonite for parking.
Mm,
And although the government had programs for a lot of other businesses, if you think about it, parking is not based on leases and we
mm,
don't have a lot of employees. So there's literally like no programs that were available to us. So, we wind up dancing with, our lenders. We try and come up with like different ways to cut costs. Like we've been trying to figure ways out of it, but it's been like an extremely difficult time. But so for me personally, it was a challenge of, it's hard to do any sort of forward moving real estate transactions at this point because, investing in real estate is all about assumptions. And if every assumption you've got, whether that's financing, construction costs, lease time, rental rates, you name it, everything goes out the window. It's like, it's hard to build a pro forma to invest in real estate when you have zero assumptions you can rely upon.
yeah.
So for me, it was, what am I going to do with myself? What am I going to put my time and effort into that continues to move things ahead? And that's sort of the beauty of the whole Zipstall platform is it has the potential to benefit parking owners and managers because all of a sudden they get better data, they got better access to a market. It's like it opens up this opportunity while also, like we talked about, giving the customers a better service delivery, better access to information, better access to all the options. So by using data on both sides, it's a win for everybody in the ecosystem. And that's one of the beautiful things for me, because it's one thing to just be another parking app that's out there trying to make money, where to me it's a lot bigger and more important thing to be focused on, like growing the community and solving this problem. Because if you think about if we can make it so that people are not afraid of going downtown or not frustrated by the experience of parking when they go downtown, how many more people come downtown?
Yeah.
Like we don't know. I can't forecast that for you, but it's like, is it 20% more people? Is it 30% more people? Like, do people come down more frequently? It's like, they say as the downtown goes, so the city goes. So like, I'm not against the suburbs by any stretch of the imagination, but the downtown has a special place and there's this great potential synergy that exists. And to see parking essentially stopping that vibrancy, to me, is just wrong, especially when it can be fixed. So
Yeah.
we're on a mission to essentially fix it.
Yeah, and like you said, get paid to park, right, for the consumer. So, and speaking of the money part of it, so what is the business model for you right now? Because I'd imagine once you get integrated into the actual purchasing of the spot, then you're going to be taking a little bit of a piece of that action. But as of right now, how are you making your revenues?
So we've got a couple different streams. In the full, so I'll sort of run through like the fullness of time piece. So local dollars redemption. So we charge a small commission to the partner businesses. We charge it on the discount amount, not on the retail price. So unlike some other programs that exist in the world, it's like the businesses all control essentially what we get paid. It's like it's a fixed percentage. They set the discounts. We want them to have full flexibility. Again, we're not trying to take their profits away. We want to support them and help promote them. So we give them essentially a platform and access to these customers. We spend all the money to sort of generate all of that, hit them at the right place, right time with the messaging, and then promote them over. And we get a small commission on those when they get redeemed. As you touched on, the convenience fees, as they're called in parking, which is essentially your transaction. So, those wind up being another source of revenue for us. Parking passes is another interesting whole nother topic. And one of the ones that we've had a bunch of success with so far, and customers are really adopting quickly, is a program we call off-market passes. So if you think about it, because like the pains of parking, they perpetuate like every single element for some reason. But
Yeah.
like even buying a parking pass, like think about it like this. You get a new job, you show up at the office, you didn't know where to park. So you picked some spot for that day and it was probably expensive. You sit down next to your new colleagues, you say, hey, like, where do you park? Where do you park? Where do you park? You wind up calling the parking managers of those three places or looking them up online. Maybe you give them a call, they don't call you back for 3 days. It's like this is not an experience that is conducive to people finding the best option.
Yep.
So what we do is you run a little process called off-market passes. So you pay us a small search fee, and then you complete what we call the needs list. So you say, okay, I want to be close to this building. I want to be, 2 blocks away. I need heated parking, and I want pedway connected. It's like, okay, great. It's like, now we know what you need. Then what we do is we go to all of the options that meet those criteria from our database. Then we get them to compete for your business. So it's almost like a little mini RFP. So we get them to give us off-market pricing for your business.
Love it. Yeah.
Why do we do it this way? Well, because a parking owner, again, wearing that hat, you don't want to drop your rates. Because once you drop your rates, you have to drop them for your entire set of existing customers. So you essentially write down your existing revenue, and then you have to claw your way back to the revenue you were already at. Where with this platform, you essentially do like one-off deals that allow you to, attract new customers without writing down the ones you've already got. So it's a program that's like specifically designed to help the parking owners grow their revenue, but also obviously provides a great little program for the customers because they're getting a better customer experience plus discounts on market rates that they can't get anywhere else. So in that regard, it's like, again, it's a nice little win for everybody. And obviously, we take a search fee on it. We guarantee that we, deliver more savings than what we charge you for your search fee. And then we take a little percentage of the savings as well. And, everybody winds up in a net win position.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, I think a lesson here, just to all of our viewers, is the idea of diversifying the different streams of income, right? And so you have multiple models here, or a model is made up of multiple streams or potential streams that are going to be coming in. So you're not reliant on one single thing. You have a few different avenues. And I imagine, the big payback is going to be once you're able to integrate in to the payment processing of each of those stalls. And so that's going to be just the continuous ongoing one, but all the rest of it definitely helps a lot too.
Totally. Yeah. And the other thing, like, again, with the changing COVID environment and the work from home phenomenon that's, sort of permeating across the market, there's more demand for 2-day a week, 3-day a week, and 4-day a week packages. So those are things that are not offered at most parking options downtown today. So it's something that, again, we're prioritizing and we're trying to deliver for these different lot owners and managers, which is another way for us to, again, like, improve the customer experience, improve the revenue. It's like find the right match between what the two parties want, instead of just, both sort of having their two sides and either a sale happening or not happening and one party feeling bad about it. So if we can find the right product that sort of satisfies for both people, well, then all of a sudden it's a win.
Yeah, the marketplace approach is really core to what you're doing, and it is really truly the game changer, I think, in what's going on. And you're creating a marketplace access for both the sellers and the buyers right across the board on everything that you guys are deploying. And so that's really interesting, really unique. Yeah.
I think everybody deserves it, right? I feel like the businesses deserve to have this problem taken away from them, because right now they're handcuffed and get beaten by it all the time. I feel like the parking owners and managers deserve a better platform. I feel like the customers deserve a better platform. It's like it's like I said, we call it a win times 6 in our material, because it's like, the city wins, the businesses win, the parkers win, the parking managers win, the parking owners win, and of course Zipstall wins as well. So it creates this sort of positive synergy where everybody's in a better place. And we do it primarily by, like I said, by collecting the data.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff, Kevin. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to walk us through the business and a little bit about your background. and really just explaining what the app is all about and how you've managed to create something that is so unique. And the growth potential is enormous. Obviously, you've got Edmonton that you're trying to do, your refinement of the product and get everything running well. And then I'd imagine it's off to the rest of the Canadian cities and into the US and across the ocean, maybe with those Estonia guys.
Yeah, that's the game plan. Like I said, it's sort of like left foot, right foot for us right now,
Yeah.
and sort of walking the path and growing the user base and building the partners and getting all the payment pieces set up.
Yeah.
But whether you're a local business or a parking owner manager or a senior person in the parking industry, it's like generally the response that we get is, this sounds incredible. And if you can help, like, again, connect the people with what they want and make it simpler, it's like that's going to make the whole parking experience far better.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time, Kevin, today. And again, everybody who's watching, disruptive technologies, disruptive business ideas really carve out opportunities in the marketplace. And so take a page out of Kevin's book and really think about the things that are happening around you or within your business or adjacent to your business in terms of how, user experience can be enhanced, and you can really change the way that people think about something as entrenched as the parking industry, right? So this is really exciting stuff. So everybody, Kevin, I guess first, before I let you go, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you over at Zipstall?
So website is zipstall.com. You can find us on social media. We picked the name Zipstall, so it's nice and easy for search purposes. So that's super easy. Team@zipstall.com is my email address. So if anybody wants to reach out, collaborate on anything, like we've touched on, it's like we love working with people, and we think there's a lot of people out there that care about the ecosystem. And if there's ways for us to work together and make it better, we're definitely interested in any of those sort of relationships.
Sounds great. Okay, so, and for those of you who are interested in checking out some of our other episodes, you can head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca, and there you'll find an archive of past episodes just like this one. So thank you again, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you in the next episode.